you want to change the law is on people who are medically fit to be discharged from hospital, and you want to ensure that they can leave. Why wouldn't they be able to?
Well, everything is, you'll appreciate this, everything is personal in what goes on in the House of Commons. And for me, what really made it for me was my poor mother-in-law passed away in November last year. And she did so in an acute general hospital, which was the wrong place for her to be. And she should have been in a homely setting in the community, perhaps a community hospital or a nursing home care or care in her own home. One of those things would have been much better than having to deal with the clamour of a district general hospital that's geared towards giving people active medical attention when we need it most. It needs to be there for us. And we know there are thousands of people in some situation all the time in our National Health Service. It's bad for them, and it's bad for the service, which at the moment needs those beds in order to deal with the bow wave of acute medical problems coming forward. So in terms of the system, obviously it makes sense to get people out as soon as they possibly can, and yet the system is still hanging on to people in inappropriate places. It's not good for them. And it causes all sorts of problems around iatrogenic illnesses, hospital-acquired infections, bed sores, the psychological trauma of it, and it's extremely expensive for our National Health Service that's trying to deal with this backlog. I tried to do something rather similar 20 years ago through a similar mechanism, and 20 years on, we've got different structures in our NHS, and my bill is designed to use those structures to try and deal with this and get people out into homely settings in the community rather than languishing for weeks on end, often at end of life, in acute general hospitals.
Critics might say that the real campaign, therefore, is to get better care, because often the reason why people can't be discharged from hospital is because the care support package isn't there, the care home place isn't there. Isn't that the crux of the problem, and why so much pressure is put on our hospitals, because there's simply nowhere to go?
Well, the actual problem is the fact that health and social care in this country has been split into two since the 1940s. So some of the structures have been brought forward recently around integrated care partnerships, for example, which are part of a bill I was trying to bring through the other day. Hopefully we'll deal with some of that, but we're not there yet. The fundamental issue here, of course, is dealing with people in homely settings in the community is in fact cheaper than dealing with people in acute hospitals. So it's a win-win situation. It's just that because our system is so siloed, we don't get people out of hospital. They stay where they are at huge cost to the NHS, and obviously the opportunity cost that presents, and at huge cost to the individual. So somehow we've got to deal with that and break down those barriers. We need to grow social care. We need to professionalise social care. We need to resource it properly, which comes back to the point you challenged me on quite rightly about whether we should be scrapping national insurance and the health and social care levy. And my answer to that is no, because we do need to deal with social care.
OK. Finally, and while we have you, we heard in court yesterday that the man accused of killing Sir David Amess had made 6 visits to the home address of Michael Gove. Do you feel safe as an MP? Do we need to do more to increase MP security?
Well, look, you'll know how this is. We all struggle with this. So on the one hand, in our system, we want to have immediacy with our constituents. We don't want there to be barriers. We don't want to hide away. Goodness me, we don't want that. But on the other hand, we have to deal with the threat to members of Parliament. And there have been things put in place over the past few weeks and months to try to improve that a bit, but there will always be at risk. And the trick is to try to strike a balance between the two. Sir David Amess was a great tragedy. He was a lovely man. Joe Cox, similarly. We've got to do what we can to make sure that this doesn't happen and that those around us, our staff, aren't at risk as well. But at the end of the day, we still have to be available to our constituents.